night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to episode 116 of the Ball Talk Pod. Joining me tonight, we have Chriso, as always. Chris, how's it going tonight?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
And we have two bonus guests tonight. The other generation of Osborne brothers, cousins, etc. We have recurring guest stars Matt and Bill Osborne. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Welcome to the pod. Welcome back.
Honored to be here.
I'm honored to be here.
That's such a, so kind of you
this
guys.
Pod where so many famous people have been interviewed. I mean, think about it.
We have a long list.
Yeah.
Growing list.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Might even have a wait list eventually. This is where podcasts can either rank things from the past or rank things they're most excited about in the future. And we might do both of those tonight. We had a podcast a couple weeks ago where we had Ryan Shoemaker on, and we did a Mount Rushmore of OU football games that I guess our top OU football games that we would want to go back and rewatch. One of the things that a good friend of the pod, Clark Osborne, reoccurring theme here, the Osbornes, brought up to us is that it might be good to have another generation's point of view on this, as there were several games. I mean, Chris and I have only been alive for one national championship. The other two on this podcast have seen way more than that. And so we wanted to get their perspective on what their top games are and see if there's any overlap and see if there's any that we might have forgotten.
Definitely forgotten.
Or didn't even know about.
That's true. And we'll leave out the 90s. We won't talk about the 90s, and I think everyone will be okay with that.
I think there's some good games in the 90s, though.
You got to give K.O. Gundy some credit. They had a season. They were pretty good.
What year was that?
Probably 93, 4.
Okay.
What
Not all the 90s.
What was the overtime win against Texas?
That was around that same time. That was John Blake's first victory of that season. They lost, I think, 5 games in a row. I think we were winless going into Texas and won that game.
Who was the running back? Was it Jermon Parker? Or
James Allen.
James Allen. Because he scored the winning touchdown, right?
The best Gundy moment, though, was when OSU called timeout with 6 seconds to go before halftime, and the teams had gone.
They were leading.
Yeah, and they made him come back out, and K.O. Gundy throws a touchdown pass at halftime to go into halftime. It was awesome.
Have you ever talked to Stacey Satterwhite about that?
What did he say?
I think that was it. Wasn't that?
It was.
Yeah, Stacey talked about how they got into halftime and all these defensive guys are throwing their helmets and say, "Who called the blanking timeout? Blanking." And it was Pat Jones, the head coach, and they were so mad.
Was Stacey on the team for that?
Huh? I think so.
And did OU win
so
that
it must
game?
have been 91, maybe
Yeah.
90, 91, somewhere there.
Did OU end up winning that game?
Huh?
Fair assumption. Yeah, okay.
It's against OSU.
I think we should just dive into it. There's a little bit of Lou Dort news that we could touch on, but he posted his goodbye video today. The only thing that I would say about that before we get into this is Lou Dort played 7 seasons in Oklahoma City. Mike Gundy spent 21 seasons as head coach at OSU, 36 years in total as head coach, assistant coach, and player. Lou Dort has already given his goodbye video. Mike Gundy has been unemployed for 316 days and has never once said anything about his time at OSU since he was fired, which I think is interesting.
Can you remind me how much they paid him to leave?
What his buyout was?
Yeah.
It was like $10 or $15 million.
That's a good chunk of change. Does he still live in the Stillwater area? No.
I think he sold his house. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't live at Grand Lake. You know, the interesting thing about that, he said the year before when they were talking about how, you think they need to move on because they had a bad season and not won a conference game. And he said, you know what? Whenever I'm gone, you'll never hear from me again.
When he's gone, he's gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And because he just said, I'll be done with it. It's okay. So I think he's just being true to his word.
I don't blame him. Like Lou Dort left on he was traded, but it wasn't like it's not like he got fired. It's a little different vibe. We'll have to see.
You know what else? There's one other difference. Lou Dort won a championship.
That's fair. That's a very valid point. And there's still a chance that Lou Dort has his jersey in the rafters one day. Which I legitimately think there's still a chance of that.
Before or after Kevin Durant's number?
Before. I really don't know if we'll do KD. That's a whole
You're-
other. That's a whole other podcast.
See, I think they have to do KD, but you're right. We'll talk about that later.
Eventually, after
When we're all dead.
Yeah.
Jinx your gin and tonic.
No, I don't. So yeah, I think we're gonna try to get Larry back on the pod here in the next couple of weeks. I've been meaning to reach out. I think it's an exciting
How
time. For
interesting
OSU
is
football.
that season going to be? Wow.
I mean, he was a
What
great
a
interview
tournament.
last year for a team that we didn't know a lot about, and it's only amplified, 10 times what it was last year.
Don't they have like 40 new players?
I think
87.
it's 80.
87. 87.
And what's the total number of roster spots?
I don't know if
Well,
there's a
technically it's
total number in
85, but
there. They can have as many as they want now.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, with that being said, hopefully we can get Larry back on the pod before the season starts. I know he gets busy after that. Matt, Dad, you guys want to flip a coin? Oldest first, youngest first? I mean, like you guys, I'm curious if you have any overlap. I mean, we'll give you our games after you've given your list from our previous pod.
I think Bill should go first because he's the elder of the.
Would you like the oldest game that you probably have never heard about?
Start us off strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
19.
Well, do you want to decide how we want to do it? Do you guys want to draft it, or is it more of a just a free flowing conversation?
I think we're just going to tell stories.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, that's better.
I mean, you guys can draft it from the stories we tell.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll rank them.
So 1969, I was 9 years old. Steve Owens was a senior in college. He was trying to win the Heisman
He was
Trophy.
a senior. Yep.
And he was, we got tickets to go. I'm sorry, Matt, you were too young. I don't think you got to go. And
No.
so Mark and Clark and Mark and Clark and I and Mom and Dad went to my first OU football game. It was against Colorado, and OU won 42-30. And I don't remember a whole lot about the game, except it was the first of many. It was the first for me to open the doors to incredible OU fandom. It became everything about sports for me after that, because Steve Owens did win the Heisman Trophy that year, and I'm sure not many people remember the season. They were only 6-4. They did not make a bowl game.
Wow.
And Steve was so good as a career, he still won the Heisman Trophy that year. So,
Do you remember anything about what Steve did during that game? Like, was there or was it just like, I just know this is my hometown hero?
well, the big deal as a kid was, will he get 100 yards? Because he had a streak of 100-yard rushing games, and that was the big deal. And so it was like a big sigh of relief in the fourth quarter when he broke 100 yards. And Steve was not a guy that got 30 yards at a pop. There were a lot of 4-yard, 5-yard runs, and anyway, it was that's what I remember. It's a game I remember, but probably no one else does.
I'll tell you. I just looked up the stats. He had 112 rushing yards, so he was close to that break. But he had 4 touchdowns on 28 carries.
Yeah.
That sounds like a heck of a game to me.
Now, what I was told afterwards, and I don't know if this is true, and this is probably more, Steve would have to probably say it's okay, but I guess the game was over, and Steve's parents were good customers of ours at the drugstore. And so Steve, afterward, the game, was ready to go out and celebrate his victory. And I guess his mom said, "Steve, you got to go meet the Osborne boys." So he had to go meet the Mark and Clark and Bill and Willie and Jane before he got to go out and have a good time.
Was McNally still over where Headington was too? Was that there then, or was that
No,
later?
it was not McNally's. It was
O'Connell's.
O'Connell.
Oh yeah.
O'Connell's was there. There was no upper decks.
Still the track, right?
Yeah, and the south end zone was bleachers. And,
green wooden bleachers.
yeah, and we sat in the north end zone. And anyway, but it's probably not the greatest, but it is. If you want to highlight,
you always remember your first.
And then the big parade where Steve Owens won the Heisman, and they had a parade in downtown Miami, and Mom made signs, and we all sat by the side of the road and held up signs that said Steve Owens for president, and the whole town of Miami was there. It was fun. So shout out to Steve Owens for opening my heart to Oklahoma football.
Of all the things, we've seen some pretty cool stuff, but having someone from our hometown do what he did on that scale, on that stage, I don't think it probably will never happen again. But to be a kid seeing that, I'm sure is a one-on-one situation. But
Well,
Matt, what was
I have
your
a
what was
I
your
have a little
first game?
story. First of all, they didn't take me to that game. I have no idea why.
How old were you at
How
that
old were
time?
you?
If Bill was 9, you'd be
5.
7.
I was 5.
5. Too young.
Has your grandson
Too
been to
young.
an OU game? Will he go to an OU game before he's 5?
Yes, for sure. Anyway, I recall I was in kindergarten, and when he came back for that weekend, he took the trophy to each school. So he brings the Heisman
Wow.
Trophy to the kindergarten, and we all get to kind of try to pick it up and do all this stuff. And I distinctly remember that. And then I remember a year later when somebody else won the Heisman Trophy, I was like, "Are they not
Why
bringing
isn't
it to
he in my
school?
classroom?
Where is the guy?" Anyway,
That's a good one.
my first, it's funny. I think my first game at OU was in 1978 against Kansas State, maybe 77, and I saw a Heisman Trophy winner as well.
That's right.
Billy?
Billy Sims.
77.
You're telling me you had to wait 8 years
Yeah,
to get to a game?
that's right. It was a big deal. And here's the hardest part. You guys will never understand, and maybe it wasn't so bad, but they only played one game on television every year.
Yeah.
Just
Did they
one.
rotated, or was it always OU
Well,
Texas?
there was
or-
only no. I'm sorry. There was one game on a week, and they would just pick the best game, and that's all that was on TV.
Okay.
So if it was Oklahoma and Texas, sometimes it was on. If it was Oklahoma Nebraska, it was almost always on because it was Thanksgiving, and they would have different days with different games. But
Sure.
it was a different time for sure.
I'm just laughing at 6-year-old Matt thinking that Jim Plunkett from Stanford University
That's
should
right.
show up.
Where's Plunkett? Anyway,
Yeah.
That's a good first pick, Dad. Matt, what's your first selection or story? I
well,
guess?
it's what I when you guys kind of asked me about this, I had not listened to your other podcast. I'm sorry, and I just went through and I thought, well, I'm going to do my first 4 years of college. I went there for 8 years, and so that would get a little long. But I
Your
did my
undergrad.
my undergraduate years, and
What
And so-
what were those years for the people?
1982, 83, and 84, and 85. 82,
Okay.
83, 84, 85.
So did you see
Gotcha.
one natty 85?
Well, we didn't see it in person because we couldn't afford to go to the Orange
But
Bowl.
while you
Yes,
were in school.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And several, just like you guys, several near misses along the way.
Our years were basically sponsored by near misses. So
Yes. Yeah. So, but I'll tell you the story. I was a freshman at OU. It was 1982, and Oklahoma football we had struggled. I can't remember who we had lost to. I think maybe Southern California or someone like that. Ohio State, maybe. I can't remember. And I think we went into the Texas game unranked, and Texas was ranked 13th. And as a freshman, we didn't get tickets to the Texas game. But Bill, who was in pharmacy school in Norman or in Oklahoma City at the time, he had 2 tickets, and he basically said to me, "We suck. I'm not going to this game. So you can have these 2 tickets."
which is funny because Dad would never say that now.
Yeah. So my roommate Joe and I, we just hopped in my 1972 Chevrolet Caprice, and we drove down that morning for the game. And they all started, I believe it was either 1:30 or 2 every game. There was never a 11 o'clock start, thank goodness. And we were sitting on the front row or second row in that corner, where Anderson caught the ball and the students all went crazy.
Mhm.
We were right there. And
I've sat
so,
there as an undergraduate student. I know exactly what you're talking about.
well, and so I'll tell you exactly where I sat. Hold on. Here's my ticket stub. I was in section 28, row 7, seat 7. Well, that's me too. Anyway, so I told you I was bringing props. So in the first quarter, we're not supposed to be very good. Texas is 13th, and our new freshman running back Marcus Dupree gets to finally play. They kind of held him back, and he plays, and he does a kind of a sweep, runs a 63-yard touchdown into the end zone in the first quarter. Shocked everyone, and it's that famous picture of him running down the field and holding up his finger. And it kind of electrified the crowd. And Oklahoma ended up rushing for 380 yards, and Texas only rushed for 163. Oklahoma had 2 completed passes for 25 yards in the game, and we ended up winning. And it was so much fun. And we were just, having the best time. Then, in those days, they did not serve beer in the stadium. You had to go out to the fair to get your beer and then come back in. You may have experienced that in your life. I don't remember.
Until maybe our senior year,
Yeah.
we had to go out
Yeah.
and get it.
Yeah. So Marcus and we were the same age. We were in the same class at OU. But so we finished the game and have a great time. And then, of course, we just drive back home. because we couldn't afford a hotel room or anything like that. So we go back to Norman and go about our business. And I get a call the next morning from my mother, and she said, "Were you
Which is
at
always
the
a good
OU?"
feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you didn't get long. I mean, a long distance call was once a week, and so this was a big deal because it was outside the
cheap call
time when it was cheapest. You always called after 11 on Sunday nights. That was when the phone lines were cheapest. Anyway, so she says, "Hey, were you at the game?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, her sister, who we call Aunt Lou, was in Dallas with my Uncle Earl, who will be in this story later. And they were eating breakfast, and they picked up the Dallas Morning News. And the Dallas Morning News, which I still have the original paper right here, and it says, let's see if you guys can see it okay. Can you see that? It has a big picture of Ledbetter, the guy that had 100, he's the fullback, 140 yards, and talks about the game. And then if you turn to the picture page, there he is.
That's Matt.
That's old young Matt.
That could have been you, Dad.
That's right. It could have been, the best part is that it could have been Bill.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure I was studying.
anyway,
I'm sure I was.
my
studying.
sister for either birthday or Christmas recently had this frame for me, and it's got my original ticket stub and the picture and the whole thing, and then Marcus signed it for me.
Wow.
How about that?
That's
Yeah.
cool.
How did you get Marcus's signature? Was that at that dinner thing, or was this something
Well,
else?
no. It turns out that there is a classmate, Miami War Dog classmate of ours, that knows him, that lives in Louisiana, Johnny George. He comes to our tailgate some, and he and Marcus
Tell him
are
to bring
friends.
Marcus.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, and in fact, I've got a signed jersey from Marcus that he mailed to me. It said Marcus Dupree, blah 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 blah, Louisiana, and it was my name on the package. I mean, he just did it himself. He signed it and sent it.
Whoa.
So anyway, that was a for 1982. That was a blast, and I appreciate Bill giving me the tickets.
Because he was such a good student, he had to stay back and study.
He was probably desperate. That was pretty early, and it was like, you're talking October. You can surely rally at that point.
Oh yeah, everyone
Anyway,
in October is
1982.
like, I can still get a B.
Yeah, I got this. Yeah, I can miss one. So for me, my freshman year, that was great. And of course, Marcus Dupree's freshman year was, the greatest that never was. So
All downhill from there.
well, that's into my next game.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Okay, so when we did a draft, so it was like a snake draft. So I don't know if Matt wants to go again, or if you guys just want to do every other.
Let's just do every other.
Okay, Dad, number 2.
Okay, so I'm going to go with another 70s game that now I was 15 years old at this time in the 1975 Orange Bowl national championship year. And to put it in perspective, OU had a quarterback named Kerry Jackson that was supposed to be the starter. He ended up in 74 for that season. OU was put on probation because of probably paid him some money. I don't know.
No, they falsified his.
Yeah. So anyway,
They were SEC ready way back then.
yeah.
That's right.
So they bring in a young guy from South Oklahoma, and Steve Davis, and he ends up being this incredible wishbone quarterback. So for 2 years, or really for that year 74, they won the national championship, but they were on probation and ineligible for a bowl. So from that point on, they were ineligible to play on TV the entire 74-75 season.
Wow.
And so
No TV games.
no TV games. They could not
Won
play
the
on
national
TV.
championship regardless.
And they won the national championship, and then that was in 74. In 75, they weren't on TV during the regular season, but the first televised game they got to play in was against Michigan in the national championship game in the Orange Bowl, which they won. So that game to me is pretty awesome. And my statement today is the reason Archie Griffin won 2 Heisman trophies at Ohio State is because Joe Washington was not on TV that year, because he was the most electrifying, exciting running back that you would ever see. And
Was the Heisman still voted on by the press at
Yeah,
that
it's
point?
the same voting as they do now.
It is? Okay. So, yeah.
But
Makes
he
a lot of
was
sense.
he was not. I also went to an OSU game that year, and I got to fly to the game with Judge Fullerton, and his son Sam invited Dad and I, and we got to fly into the Norman Airport, and we watched the Oklahoma State game that year. And it's the game, and if you ever watch Joe Washington highlights, you'll see him on a punt return, and all of a sudden he looks like he's tackled about the 30 or 40 yard line, and he just disappears in this crowd of people. The fans start sitting down. I mean, they think the play's over, and the next thing you know, he pops out and just runs, and I think he scores or runs another 50 yards or whatever. So he was probably one of the most exciting backs that never got the proper He should have been a Heisman Trophy winner for sure.
So
I
I work
have
for
something.
the. You have something to add to that, Matt?
No, I want you to go first.
Well, I did a. I worked for the Sooner Club for about a year in undergrad, and Joe worked for them as like the varsity O head, and he would just come up to the front desk, and if you ever wanted to hear anything about his playing days, he never hesitated to tell you in a very gracious way. Like I got to try on his Super Bowl ring. He told me several stories about how I think he was going to go to LSU at one point, but whenever he went on his recruiting visit, I think it was LSU, but like someone got stabbed on the field or something like that. Like something happened to where he's like, I can't go here. And so it was LSU, Texas. It's been 6, 7, 8 years since I did that, but he's a great guy.
Regarding Joe Washington, and you should look this up on YouTube. He had been traded around. He was playing for the Baltimore Colts. That's back when they were in Baltimore, and it was Monday Night Football, which also was a big deal even back then. And it was raining, and they used those tearaway jerseys back then. And he had one of the best games in the history of Monday Night Football still. And you can go watch the highlight. It's Howard Cosell, Frank Gifford, and Don Meredith, the original Monday Night Football guys, commentating, and they are just freaking out. He threw for a touchdown. I think he returned a kick for a touchdown, and I think he scored it other ways too. But it's an incredible individual performance on Monday Night Football. The second thing I wanted to say is there was an offensive lineman that played for Michigan that lost that 1975 game. Do you happen to remember who that was? Les Miles.
How sweet.
He was a lineman.
He started.
For
He was their offensive lineman.
I did not know.
He was a senior on that team. Yeah.
I'm looking up Joe
There you
Washington's stats from that Monday Night Football game, and he scored 3 touchdowns, but none of them were rushing.
Correct. Yeah. It's just and the highlights are incredible. I think it was rainy or
Yeah, I think it wasn't against. So yeah, Baltimore Colts played the Patriots in a driving rainstorm. Washington became the only player ever to throw a pass, catch a pass, and return a kick for a touchdown in the same regular season game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Listen, if you catch the highlights, it's worth watching on YouTube.
You're saying if he was in an OU jersey, that might have made this list.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have for sure. Yeah.
Barry Switzer quote about before his freshman year, and he said they talked about Greg Pruitt next year or whatever, and he says our concern next year is where's Greg Pruitt going to play? He thought Washington, he was such a highly recruited guy, and of course Greg Pruitt was an incredible. He could have won the Heisman too. So if you look at his yard per carry average in 1971, it'll blow your socks off. So
solid. Matt, number 2.
Well, I'm going chronological, so I'm in 1983, and it's probably it's middle October. It's the week after the Texas game, and things are not going well for the Sooners in 1983. We got smoked by Texas, and Texas went down there. Their single goal was to knock Dupree out of the game, and in the first quarter, they knocked him out of the game. It was basically a kind of a headhunter thing. Now, Dupree came back, and he was out of shape. He went back to Louisiana and didn't work out during the summertime. He came back. A lot of guys were filling his head with all kinds of stuff, and he just wasn't right. You could tell the whole season. The talent was there, but he just didn't seem to have the same burst. Kind of fluffy, maybe, but just
Ain't
still.
nothing wrong with being a little fluffy.
So he gets knocked out of the Texas game. He gets knocked out, and he quits the team, or he does something to get kicked off. Whatever it was, he's off the team on like a Monday, and we're playing in Stillwater on Saturday. So once again, Joe and I get tickets somehow, and we each have. We went in the basement of the fraternity house. We found a couple of OU flags, and we put them on broomsticks and took them to the game with us. And we go in there, and I don't know, you guys never experienced the turnoverness of the wishbone, where we would turn the ball over 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a game.
We watched
Jackson
Arnold play. We watched Jackson Arnold play football.
Yeah. So in that game, and this is a very famous game, less than 10 minutes left, we're trailing 20-3. Neither team's ranked or anything like that. And Oklahoma, the first touchdown was to Derek Shepard, and he gets a 73-yard touchdown with just about 9 minutes left in the game. Goes back and forth a little bit. Oklahoma then scores with about a minute and a half left in the game, scores a touchdown.
So 17-20. Oh.
So now it's 20-18.
Okay.
20-18. I think that we missed a 2-point conversion. I can't remember. So it's 20-18, and Switzer says, he loves his defense all the time. He would always rely on his defense. Kick it deep, he says. But Tim Lasher, the kicker, doesn't hear that. So he goes out there. Nobody else on the field knows that he's going to kick an onside kick except him, and he does it, and it goes straight. It's not a bouncer. It's like a fastball, and it hits the OSU defender in the face mask, straight up like this, like he'd shot him, and the ball bounces up in the air. I don't think it ever touched the ground, and Scott Case for OU catches it at the 50-yard line. And so now we have the ball, we drive down, and then Tim Lasher ends up kicking a winning field goal, like a 40-something yarder, and we win 21-20.
That's
But that's also,
bonkers.
that's the day the Pride won. And it changed NCAA rules forever because Gene Threlkill, the director of the Pride of Oklahoma, they always take the full band up to Stillwater, and he's on the field and he's not supposed to be or something. And so they end up escorting him out of the stadium. And so the band doesn't have a director because they thought he was playing too much or something. And so he told the band on the way out to keep playing nonstop until OU takes the lead. And so they never
And they didn't take the lead till the last field goal.
That's right. And he got kicked out in probably early in the third quarter. I don't remember when it was, but they never stopped playing. And so the team gave the Pride a game ball. I've seen that game ball somewhere. And one of the interesting things is that game prompted a new NCAA rule the next year saying when bands could play in football games.
Basically, not when there's
Nice.
You can't play when the ball's in play anymore.
yeah.
So
Wow.
that's kind of what. Yeah. Now here's the last thing. I think it was the last time the Sooners ever beat this head coach for OSU. Do you know who it was in that game? The head coach for OSU?
In the
Les
70s?
Miles.
No, this was 80s.
This is 1983. And we played him 4 more times in the 80s and lost every game. Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, Jimmy J, future Cowboy.
Jimmy J. He was the OSU head coach that year. And I think he left that next year or whatever and coached at Miami. And we lost to Miami 4 straight times in the 80s.
What was, remind me, what year was Barry Sanders Heisman?
88.
88. Okay. So that would have been in that stretch.
Yeah, in fact, this was, they probably had Thurman Thomas in that game. I don't remember. But
For some reason, I thought there was a stat that, like, Barry Sanders, even though he won the Heisman, he never beat OU or something like that.
no, he never did.
They had
We didn't lose to OSU for 20 years.
We lost to Jimmy Johnson at Miami, is what Matt was
At
saying.
Miami.
Oh,
is
you're
what I'm
saying
We
Jimmy
lost
Johnson
him 4 straight times.
not OSU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was unclear on that. I was trying to.
Because,
All right, Bill.
well, I just Googled it. So the 1988 game, Barry Sanders ran for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns,
And he got outrushed.
five.
losing 31-28.
Mike
Right.
Gaddis, right?
Did he not get outrushed by Mike Gaddis?
I think he did. I just looked up the.
It was pretty close.
I got to go to that game with compliments of my friends Curtis and Ellen Jurgensmeyer. Ellen was a season ticket holder, and I was at the 50-yard line, and that's the famous Brent Parker pass where the ball went. I mean, it went right between his hands. I mean, it was like you couldn't see it, and I remember sitting there with them, and I'm in the middle of this OSU section, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we are going to lose. And I mean, I almost felt sorry for the guy afterwards because, I mean, it was like one of those things where, I mean, he probably catches that ball 99 out of 100 times, and he didn't even get, he just went right through him. It was a miracle we got out of there. So.
Yeah, and see, that was in my second 4 years of college, and I didn't get the opportunity to go to as many games then, so I was not there.
A little busier then. This would be very fast. I don't know how much he can get into, and depending on time frame, if we can get Larry on, it would be fascinating to hear his OSU. Like
I was thinking too, his top 5
4
would be
games.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to look
The
into
hard
that.
part for them is almost all of them are against us.
Yeah, the 19
Sure.
times.
I mean, for the longest time, we were the biggest game of the year for them. Then they got better, and they had some Nebraska games that were pretty good. But
He beat Texas a couple of times too, really.
yeah, but they didn't play Texas back then.
No, not that far back.
They didn't play
They
Texas.
were not in our conference, not till 1996.
Oklahoma State wasn't.
No, Texas wasn't.
Oh, they were.
That was
in
an out of conference game.
Yeah.
Really?
They
I'm
were
gonna
in the
be honest,
Southwest
I didn't know
Conference.
that.
I didn't know that.
Texas was not. That's why it didn't really matter.
Texas
I
and
mean,
Arkansas
it was a
were
big game.
Big rivals then because they were the ones that won the Southwest Conference almost every year, and A&M, I guess. So
Yeah, yeah. So the Big
I
12 didn't form until 1996.
Well, I knew that, but for some reason, just because of the history, I just always thought we were attached to Texas, kind of like how we are. No, that's.
No, it was just a
I'm a little
non-conference game.
disappointed in myself for not knowing that, honestly.
Yeah, well, there's a little factoid there.
I love that factoid.
Wow. Okay. All right. 2 down for each side. Dad, Third selection.
I got to say the game of the century, 1971. I know I'm giving old games.
That's good.
That's the point.
I was 11 years old. Thanksgiving at my Uncle Earl and Aunt Lou's house, and we watched the entire game. My cousin Sandy, he had marched in the pride, and so he was, big OU fan, and so we watched that game, and we thought, it was just an incredible game. The fun part was there was a wide receiver named John Harrison that played at Ineo A&M Junior College, was All-American there, and Switzer went down at halftime and said, you need to kill the clock, run the clock out. And Jack Mildren called a pass play, and they scored as Switzer didn't even know, he didn't even see the play. He was in the elevator going down to the dugout, and he got down there, and he had actually run a pass play without Switzer knowing it. And they scored at halftime, went ahead. That's the famous Johnny Rogers punt return where if you watch it over and over, you see an OU player just absolutely get clipped, and they don't make the call. And he was all over the place. Greg Pruitt played for OU. The ball went up and down. In the end, we lost. You did not have, I don't think our defensive line was able to stop I think Jerry Taggy was the quarterback for Nebraska, and they were able to score at the end. But it was an incredible game. It was that year, OU lost to Nebraska, but Auburn and Alabama were playing in the SEC championship. Auburn was ranked 1 and 2, or Alabama was 1, Auburn was 2, and OU and Nebraska were 1 and 2. So Alabama played Nebraska in the national championship game of the year, and Nebraska won, and OU played Auburn in the Sugar Bowl that year. Tinker Owens had a hell of a game and had some big pass plays, and OU ended up beating Auburn, and they ended up being, I don't think Tinker played then.
Yeah, he wasn't in school. He wasn't there yet.
And but they ended up beating Auburn in the Sugar Bowl, and so OU and Nebraska finished 1 and 2 at the end of the year. And so later on in life, I just happened to be in Las Vegas, and I got up early one morning. I still had enough money left. I went to the craps table, and I walk up to the craps table, and there's a short guy standing next to me. We get to play, and he starts chit-chatting with the pit boss about football. He says, "You play football?" Yeah. Turns out I'm playing craps with Johnny Rogers. And so we're sitting there and we're having, just visiting. He's talking football. And then they talked about the game of the century. And there was a guy next to me, and I leaned over and I go, it still was a clip. And the guy next to me says, "You damn right it was."
He's like, it doesn't matter now.
So it doesn't matter. But anyway, it was that game was amazing. Another thing, we're on TV once or twice a year. It was 1 versus 2. The whole country was watching that game, and you can look at Sports Illustrated, which was the magazine that used to talk about sports. I don't know if you guys know what magazines
we had Sports Illustrated.
And their deal was, I think the cover had Greg Pruitt and Johnny Rogers looking at each other on the front. And so another incredible game that was one of the most entertaining in history. The wrong team won, but it still was an incredible game.
Were you at that game?
No. We were at Thanksgiving. Matt
Matt, you didn't go to that game, did you? They didn't take Bill. Grandma didn't take Bill and leave you at home.
Was Matt even invited to Thanksgiving that year?
Yeah.
They also went on family vacation that summer and left me here. They all went to Colorado to go camping and all that, and they leave little Matt here.
It's a little too intense for you.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, Matt, segueing over back
Bill,
to you.
it's okay. Now I'm just going chronologically. So now I'm a junior at OU. It's 1984. Oklahoma has a pretty good team, and the defense is beginning to develop into the defense of the 80s. Brian Bosworth is a freshman. They've got a decent offense, and we had a terrible experience in Dallas against Texas where the game ended in a tie, but we had actually intercepted a ball in the end zone. I don't know if you've ever seen the Keith Stansberry play. He clearly intercepts it. In the days of replay, just like maybe with that cliff, in the days of replay, that's a win for us. And that tie didn't really help much. And so at the end of the season, it's Oklahoma-Nebraska. Oklahoma's 6. Nebraska is ranked number 1, so we're going in to play number 1 Nebraska in Lincoln. And my Uncle Earl, who we mentioned earlier, he had season tickets and was a big part of our OU lives back then. And he called me, and he was living in Oklahoma City at the time. And so we decided to go up to that game. And he was a Buick dealer, car dealer, and he always drove a brand new, gigantic Buick. What were they called, Bill?
Sabre?
Electras or
LeSabre?
no, it was a Buick Electra or something. Anyway, so we pop in that thing, and he was a World War II veteran who flew in B-29s over Japan. I mean, this guy had seen it all, and he smoked like a chimney. And as you would expect, a veteran car dealer. I mean, he just fits the mold, and the nicest, funniest guy. But he loved jazz music and music from the big band era, and he had gotten into making cassette tapes. He figured out how to, he was recording his. So we listened to jazz from the time we left Oklahoma City till the time we got to Lincoln, and he smoked the entire time. I'm not kidding. And it was back in the time whenever you were around smoke, you didn't think twice about it. And he had his little window cracked, and he would just kind of sit there and smoke, and we'd listen to jazz. He didn't talk a lot when he drove. We just listened.
He was like, "You ready for the big game?" Or
Yeah. But he never had a smoker's voice. So anyway, that sets up how I ended up being in Lincoln for this game. And it was, Nebraska. We were ahead 10-7. Nebraska in the fourth quarter, because these games were always 10-7, 17-14, stuff like that. Nebraska is driving down the field, and actually we're sitting very similar to where we sat when we went just recently up there, but in the end zone, high up in the corner. It's freezing cold in November in Lincoln, and Nebraska gets first down and goal on the 2-yard line with just 6 or 7 minutes left in the game, and they run 3 plays right up the middle, and I think Bosworth was in on 2 of them, and we stopped him. So now it's 4th and goal, and they decide to run kind of a sweep to the left, and they either hand it off or pitch it to their halfback, and a little known defensive back named Brian Hall somehow doesn't get blocked on the play, and he grabs the guy by the jersey and pulls him back from the goal line, and the guy fumbles the ball eventually. But so we have a goal line stand there, and that was the second big goal line stand of the year for this team, because against Texas in 1984 in the pouring down rain, they'd done the same thing, but we ended up tying that game. So then after we stopped them, of course, we can't get out of the end zone. And so we punt with just a few minutes left in the game. We punt to them. They fumble the punt. We recover. And then we score another touchdown and win 17-7. But Tom Osborne, he was never, he did this in a national championship game. He went for it instead of kicking the field goal to tie the game.
That's right.
And push it, because there was no overtime. You was going to be a tie, and they were playing to be number one. And so in 1984, the defense that would carry the Sooners through the rest of the 80s really was born. And, of course, the defensive coordinator who?
Gary Gibbs.
Gary Gibbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the offensive coordinator was?
Mac Brown.
Mac Brown.
Whoa.
Were we running the flex bone? Was that what he called it?
Ran that flex bone. Yeah, we did a little flex boning that year. They take the 2 halfbacks and spread them out and just leave the fullback.
Yeah.
And we tried to throw the ball. Danny Bradley was a quarterback. He was a pretty good thrower. His son would later play for the Sooners. His name was Mark Bradley, number 1, played in the national championship game against
wide
US.
receiver.
Yeah, so that's my third game in my chronological series from 1984.
It's a
I
solid
love
game.
it.
And that
That's a really
reminded
good
me
game.
of my first OU Texas game. OU won because Texas fumbled a punt with like a minute and a half left.
Oh, I saw. Yeah, that was glorious.
Yeah.
2007.
No, it was
Sam Bradford's first year.
DeMarco was playing.
Yeah,
DeMarco's.
Yeah, that was-
I didn't go to his first. I didn't go to Murray's freshman year. Was
Yeah.
Bradford's Heisman year, and I didn't go to. I think it was like 2010 or 2011.
Okay.
But James Winchester recovered the fumble. I don't know why I remember that, but
Chief legend, James
legend.
Winchester.
Super Bowl champion. It
That's
was
right.
the game at the Cotton Bowl afterwards. I got my favorite snack at the Cotton Bowl is the tater twisters.
Deep fried Oreos.
No, tater twisters.
no, on the spike.
The spiral, yeah. So
Say that
we
again for
played
me.
Tater twister. We after the game, I had one. Obviously, we had won, and we had played like a carnival game, and somehow had gotten into a possession of one of those like fluffed up Texas footballs. And so I took all of the spike, as I say, or the stick from my tater twister, and just like destroyed that football. And I have a picture of it looking like it's like barbecue chicken. So
That's
Okay,
funny.
I'm going to challenge you on this, Ben. I think that was 2007, and I think Sam Bradford was the quarterback, and I think the Sooners won 21-14.
I think the Sooners won 28-20 in 2010.
So it
Dad,
wasn't Sam Bradford.
let me do some Googling. Dad, take it away. We'll get back to this.
Okay.
So my next game is I got my graduate degree in pharmacy, and they had a doctoral program. So in the year 2000, Ben was what, 4? Jack
Yeah.
was 1. I went back to pharmacy school and while I was working and to get my doctor of pharmacy. So this qualifies as when I was in school. But
There you go.
that was the year that we won the national championship with Josh Heupel. And what's amazing about that year is we had been bad for so long, and it was nobody gave us a chance to beat anybody. We beat Texas, we beat Kansas State, like just drubbed them, and K-State was really good that year. And so we go in and I have a biochem test, and we would get in vans and drive to Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and take a test every 2 weeks. And so Ben Allison, our business partner from Veneta, he and we drove, instead of taking our test in Tulsa, we drove the night before the game, spent the night at Stroud. You know that hotel right off the Stroud?
That used
It's
to be
like
where
the
the
cattle
outlet
thing
mall
or
is.
something.
Yeah. So we spent
It's
the
the
night there
Palomino Hotel or something.
to study for our biochem test, go the next day, take our test. I think I flunked the test, but we got down to the test and went to this game, and Ben had tickets for me, and we sat in the end zone. I froze to death, but it was the most exciting, exhilarating thing when the crowd, we got behind, I think it was 14-0 is what we got behind, and then OU just started exploding. The passes that Heupel threw to open up the offense. It was just, and it was like all of a sudden you just felt the emotion of everything all the season. We can really do this. And it really made a lot of fans believe we could do it. The country still didn't believe we could do it, but I think the OU fans did. So that's an incredible game.
Do you choose that over the national championship game?
No. I was trying to do a game that someone else wouldn't pick. So yeah, probably.
Yeah. I honestly, I still tell you, I would say the loudest our stadium's ever been was when Derek Strait intercepted the ball, and in the beginning of the third quarter, and we went up 31-14, and that was the last score of the game.
Yeah. It was an incredible time. So
Louder than 2008?
Yeah, that's the loudest. I mean, it was. Well, I mean,
Wow.
I don't know.
There weren't
It's a
as
different stadium then.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, there was no upper deck on the east side.
Yeah. Well, the national championship game would be another one, but I'll let you pick that one.
Oh, I'm not going to pick
Matt's
that, but
going
I just
just off
remember.
of undergrad.
Yeah, the thing I remember about that national championship game is it was a 6-0 game for about 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
What an electric viewing experience.
It was. I mean, we experienced this kind of last year in the SEC. Everything's a one-score game now,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
was a one-score national champ. It was agonizing as a fan to sit there and just see opportunity after opportunity come and go. And Josh Heupel, he was hurt. His arm was just a rubber band.
Yeah.
I mean,
Roy Williams played linebacker, didn't he?
Roy Williams.
Didn't Roy
Well,
Williams?
he played his. That's
Played
when
Roy
they
back.
developed that position for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
cheetah.
what we call the cheetah now, I think they called it the tiger at Clemson or something. Like, but it's the same position that like Kendall Daniels played last year.
They should call it the pony at OU.
Nope. Nobody ever thought we would, have a chance against. And that was the year that, remember, Florida State went, and Miami thought they should go. And did Miami get beat the last game or something? And
Yeah, something happened, and no, they just basically the voters for the BCS chose Florida State over Miami, and I forget
Did
why
they
that
not
happened,
play?
but there was a big controversy. I think they had played, and I don't remember what happened, but
Florida
I
State
think
was
I think
undefeated, so-
Miami beat them. Or was Florida State undefeated?
I
early,
thought they were undefeated.
No, I think we were the only.
We were
Anyway,
the only undefeated
so
team. There were two one-loss teams. So maybe Florida State lost to Miami.
I think Florida
Miami
State
lost
lost to Miami, and Miami lost to somebody else,
to- Yeah.
like Notre Dame.
Oh, Boston
or-
College, wasn't it? Was that the big play? Was that the Boston College?
I think that Flutie play. No, I don't know, Bill. I don't think so.
Do you
But that
guys
was
know
it.
who the leading or okay? So I assume you know who the leading rusher was in the national championship game for OU in 2000.
Griffin?
Yeah, Quentin Griffin. Do you know how? Like you're talking about a, not a lot to watch. We know he scored the touchdown. Do you know how many yards he ran for in that game?
I'm going to say 60.
110.
40.
That's 'cause
Heupel
we
threw
were-
for 214.
Yeah, it was a defensive, and honestly, that made the Stoops brothers pretty famous for that. That's when Bob Stoops.
Well,
got
didn't
his
they
name.
basically act like we
didn't belong?
we should just be thankful to be invited?
It was a lot kind of like Indiana this year. Second year coach, had done some things in the first year, but nobody every game you're like, well, this is the one they're gonna mess up on.
The only reason we got
And
to
we
go,
almost did in Stillwater
yeah,
and in College Station.
and in College Station.
the only reason we got the tickets to the game is because people that we knew here didn't want to go down there and watch us get beat, and so
That's right.
we were just down there because we got to go to the Orange Bowl. That was the first bowl game we'd ever been to.
I'd never been to a bowl game before that.
Yeah,
It was 2000.
It's a pretty good one to start.
Yeah, it's all downhill from there, gentlemen.
I've seen a lot of losing national
Keep going.
championship games since then.
All right, Matt.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to switch to my fourth year of college out of 8, 1985 again. And 1985 is a national championship season, so 85 is a good year to talk about. Oklahoma had played early in the season. We beat Texas pretty handily. It was a close game, but we beat behind our quarterback running the wishbone, Troy Aikman. And then the next game was the University of Miami coming to Norman. And in the second quarter of the game or whatever, Troy Aikman, they break his leg. It's a pretty good game up to that point. Looks like we're going to, win a close one if we can keep it up. And so they bring in freshman Jamel Holloway, and, we're just not going to win that game. And so we lost early in the season.
We weren't running the wishbone, right? We weren't running the wishbone.
No, we were not running the wishbone with Troy Aikman. Not like that.
Yeah.
And so we climbed back into things through the season. We beat several good teams, but it came down. I think we had already played Nebraska. No. Yeah, we'd already beaten Nebraska pretty handily that year. And it was November 30th, 1985. It was in Stillwater, number 3 Oklahoma, number 19 Oklahoma State. And I was home for Thanksgiving, but I went back for the game on a Saturday. So I drove back. Well, yeah, I mean, why not? And drove back for the game, and it was 20 degrees with a -4 wind chill when the game started. And in the first quarter, it started sleeting. It snowed for a little bit. Then it started sleeting pellets that were the size of gravel. And the field completely turned white. You couldn't see anything. And it was not snow. It was ice.
Wow.
So they were trying to dig around it. And there was thunder and lightning. There's no way in this day and age they play that game. They would postpone it. They got lightning. They got ice. They would just not play it. But back then, did you ever hear of a game postponed for lightning, Bill? Until ever, never.
Would they still play it, or would they just push it back?
No, you just played it.
If
It
someone
didn't matter
got
how
struck
hard
by
it was
lightning,
raining.
doesn't matter.
Well, that's the chance you take, man. I mean, come on. So anyway,
How bad do you want it?
so it was the most awful game to watch, and I was a little unprepared, and so we ended up getting a bottle of Jack Daniels because alcohol is going to keep you warm.
It's just science.
And there's nothing to stand up for, so you're sitting on the old metal bleachers in Stillwater, the rusty ones, and you're sitting on these bleachers, and you got your Jack Daniels, and it's just sleeting all around you. And about halftime, I tried to get up to go to the restroom, and I was frozen to my seat and had to chip away the ice to get up. That's how. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So, but OSU they had a pretty good team that year, led by Thurman Thomas, their leading rusher, and he ended up with 100 yards in this game, 23 carries for 100 yards. But OSU fumbled the ball over and over again, as you would expect. And Oklahoma, we kind of played a Switzer just avoided risk altogether, kept it to just handoffs and didn't throw a lot of passes, which wasn't unusual, and field position. And we ended up winning the game 13-0. And one of the interesting thing was, by the time you got to the game, they just opened the gate. The gates were open. They didn't take any tickets at all. If you wanted to go in, you just walked through the open gates and sat in there.
Because of the weather?
Yeah. Because they figured they're worrying about, and it was on ESPN, which was a big deal. That was right when games were starting to be televised more routinely. It was after the Georgia-Oklahoma lawsuit against the NCAA. And so you started seeing games on ESPN and things like that. So that was a big game. And Brian Bosworth had a great game again. And he won the Butkus Award that year, the first ever Butkus Award, and he won it again the next year. So
That's a fun fact that he won the very first one.
yeah, I saw a picture of Teddy Lehman and him standing together, and somebody, and the guy standing. He's got 3 Butkus Award winners.
Yeah.
Don't see that very often.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So anyway,
Love to get
that
another
game
one
in
of those.
1985, I didn't get to go to the national championship game once again. It was in Florida, and we just didn't have the means to travel and do that kind of stuff. Plus, I was in school, and the national championship game was fun, but that game is the most memorable for me that season.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
four.
you got frozen to your seat.
Yeah. All my
Yes.
brothers were in college.
And I don't advise Jack Daniels as a way to keep warm, by the way.
But if you're desperate, it could
No,
work.
no, you'd be better. Well, I'm not going to say it. It was.
Do you suggest hot damn? I know you guys have a
Fireball didn't exist.
fireball or hot damn.
Oh, it did. They just hadn't named it or marketed it well yet.
Yeah, it turns out alcohol causes your veins to dilate, and you lose heat more if you're drinking alcohol than if you're not. So
You didn't know
you
that,
just,
though.
you just don't care. No,
That you didn't learn that until your next 4 years in college.
that's right.
All right. Are we
So
up
that's
to-
my 4 games.
Dad, you got one more? Or is that it?
I think that's it.
I think
Okay.
I've done 4. Yeah. Well, I've done probably 6.
Although I got an honorable mention here.
Another prop.
Another prop.
2001 Red
Prop.
River Rivalry.
Assigned Superman with my ticket right there.
That's pretty sweet.
That's a great game. That was a great game.
Matt, before we
Okay.
talk about games that aren't on the list, I do want to bring up it was 2010 OU Texas.
It was. I was wrong.
Was my first OU Texas game. Because I
Okay.
never went to OU Texas pre Bradford. I never saw Bradford
Okay.
in the Cotton.
Who was the quarterback in 2010?
Oh, the man.
Landry Jones, baby. That's
The record
I was
holder.
confused.
Wade Wall's favorite player.
The record.
But there was no DeMarco Murray there, right? He was done by
No,
then.
DeMarco
did
was
see-
there. DeMarco's
He
last game was the
Was that
Fiesta
his
Bowl
tiptoe down the sidelines like he was when he,
think so.
he scored a touchdown and he's bouncing himself all the way in? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good one too.
You
Okay.
did see Sam Bradford play in Dallas. It just wasn't for very long.
Oh, it was the worst experience of my life.
We were all devastated that game. He'd won the Heisman the year before, and
Well, he'd won his first year against Texas,
yeah,
and then they lost the next two. So whatever.
Yeah. No, we
It's
got
the
to see the
BYU.
very first official football game, like big time football game in Jerry World, and could not have had a worse time. And I was in 8th
Do
grade.
you remember how big that video screen was?
Yes.
I mean, it's like it was overwhelming in
It's still
2000, whatever
overwhelming,
year it was.
honestly. Even
And
going down there now.
and Sam Bradford goes down. You can tell he's broken his collarbone or his shoulder or whatever.
It was the
And
AC
they,
joint.
They get him off the field, and in trots Landry Jones, and none of us knew his name. And they zoomed in into his helmet on that giant big screen right in there, and you could see him. And he had that little mustache, and he was like,
We're like, we're screwed.
I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, he was wide eyed, and he is the nicest guy. I took a picture with him not too long ago, and he was very pleasant and nice. But what a career, you know, that was the beginning of a great career there. And his most famous running play, you remember that? Who were we playing? And he did, we were trying to, it was like a 4th and 1.
West Virginia.
and-
I think it was
Yes.
West Virginia.
And he ran a naked bootleg by himself, and no one in the stadium thought he had the ball
I remember
because nobody would ever assume that that was probably his only carry in his career. But good man. All right, so let's hear you guys.
Okay, so before we get into our list, one game that did not get brought up on your list that Chris and I both have a little bit of angst about not getting invited to. And you both were there. 2008 Texas Tech.
The jump around
Yeah.
game.
Jump around
Yeah.
game. It was the second rendition of Osborne Uncle's Weekend.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
And I specifically remember my uncle's weekend. We invited a whole lot of people.
It evolved, Ben. It evolved over time.
I don't think
But
we
no,
were,
it was we were not allowed. It was only uncles at that game.
That's
And
true.
Yep.
It was,
It's a game that I still will randomly go back and it'll pop up on my like YouTube suggested.
How old were you then?
12.
yeah, I think it was because we were drinking a little alcohol at Uncle's Weekend. We were trying to keep you safe. That's what it
Keep us
was.
sheltered.
That's right. I do remember we had our little tailgate. It was Cabest Uncle's Weekend, and Kirk Herbstreit walks in because at the OU track is where they had game day, and they're getting ready to start. And he walks by, and I slap him 5. He gives me a 5, and he walks about 10 yards by me, and I go, "He touched me! He touched me!" And he looks around. I remember him like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
That was probably one of the loudest places ever.
You know, that's funny about Kirk Herbstreit because I ended up through some random chance of a great fortune. I got a good friend arranged. He had won a breakfast with Kirk Herbstreit at the national championship game, and I got to go and we had coffee and donuts together, 8 of us and Kirk. And the funny thing about that is he wouldn't touch anyone. We all got up to take pictures with Kirk, and he never put his arms around anyone. He always kept his hands folded right in front of him. He never touches other people. And I think it's for obvious reasons. You got to be careful. But, I'm up there. I go put my arm around him.
Kirk, those donuts,
sorry,
right?
man.
They're fantastic.
Maybe it started.
Okay,
because
let's
of
hear your games.
the high five. That's what happened. That stopped it all.
After
Yeah,
the high
you ruined
five,
it.
he stopped touching people.
I'm not touching that guy.
That guy freaked me up, man.
Oh my God, he touched me. What's wrong
I
with
need
these
Kirk
people?
Herbstreit to release like an autobiography in like 20 years, and he has
Yeah.
a chapter about how like there was this one guy in Norman.
That guy changed my life.
It changed my life for better or worse.
It's interesting. I think he's a fantastic person, and I think he's a really good color commentator and very smart. But during the BCS era, he was the most powerful voice in college football.
Yeah.
And on the last few weeks, when the BCS campaigning was kind of going on, if he thought your team should get in there, they
You
most
got
likely
in.
were going to get. He would, yeah. He was so good, and he was usually right, but
Even in like
Anyway.
the 4-team playoff, like before it expanded. I mean, like
yeah. And now I don't think so much. I think it's
No, Condoleezza
really
Rice and
think-
the committee have taken over.
no, it's Heather Dinich, man. She's the all powerful.
She is.
She's the straw
And
that
she's
stirs
the reporter
camel's
that
back.
stays. She's
Just-
the reporter that stays with
Yeah, and like her
the
background's
committee.
always behind me through these doors. 12 individuals are determining the fate of the college football world. I hope they talk about OU this year. We have a great opportunity for it. But going back to Chris and I's list, I will say we didn't do like just pick your top 4. It was a draft. So Chris had the number 1 pick. Do either of you know? I think Dad probably listened. Matt, do you have a guess on what Chris's number 1 game is?
Was Chris at one of the comeback Texas wins?
He was, but it
I
wasn't
was,
that.
but that's not it.
So I don't know.
2017, Ohio State.
Absolutely, that's got it. I mean, you guys, just like when I went to Tennessee in 2015, that was just so much fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
It would have been my number 1 if I had the number 1 pick.
Okay, all right.
So I'll just read Chris's list. He had Ohio State 2017. Number 2, OU Bama 2025. Matt, you were there with us.
Yeah, that was so much fun. So much fun, but for the whole experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going
well,
to
like the
Cookout.
golf on Friday. We always talk
Yeah.
about our first time at Cookout. I mean,
Yeah,
like Clark
The cigar
absolutely
lounge.
destroyed his tire Saturday night.
We don't talk.
the yellow hammer. It's funny. Those little yellow cups that the yellow hammer came in. There's one sitting on my counter downstairs. I had it out the other day, drinking water out of it.
Yeah, water.
It's so ironic.
Okay. You're like, I can
not
still
gonna-
smell the pineapple. His number 3 was Samaje Perine breaking the rushing record against Kansas.
We watched that
2014.
together, Matt.
You
It
and
was
I
you and I
together.
in the
Do
rain.
you-
Did you tell
we
the story?
talked about
You
this-
tell the story of going and standing behind the bench.
Well, we talked about this.
I don't remember
and he
how we
wasn't-
got there.
Yeah. Why were you guys on the other side?
Because I think we were in the student section or something. And I said, Chris, let's go over there. He's getting ready to set this record. Let's go stand as close behind the bench as we can just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And so we stood on the front row.
And that stadium wasn't really that full. So you could
No, it was so bad.
Oh, it was
The weather was so
pouring.
bad. It was delayed, and it was Kansas, and yeah.
We
so we
sucked
stood right
that
behind.
year.
Every time he came and sat on the bench right in front of us. We were just standing
Yeah.
there.
It was
I
awesome.
think it was you and me and Kelly. your
Probably,
sister.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly's
maybe
a huge
one other
OU football
person.
fan.
One other person who remained nameless.
Do you remember that game? Didn't we have another running back who just fumbled it 4 times in a row or something? Was it Keith Ford that just kept fumbling? So they just kept giving it.
That's right.
They just kept giving it to Samaje, and he just like
Number
kept going.
21.
Yes.
Keith Ford. Did he end up at Texas A&M? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
That sounds
the
very
Kyler
likely.
Murray trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take that.
That we gave him Trevor Knight and Keith Ford. That was his third. And then his final pick was OU Texas 2023, the game-winning pass to Nick Anderson in
That
the corner.
where were you sitting?
We were
I wasn't there. I was in. I was watching at Nemo's. I think we were all together.
I
Or I
think
don't
we
know
were
if you went.
together.
Yeah, but
No, Chris, we were at our rental house.
maybe I don't remember where it was. Hi.
But
It was such
we
a
did
good
not.
game,
It was the first year I think I didn't go outside of COVID, and might regret that decision.
Are you going to go this year?
Doubt it. doubt it. It's every year I'm like, next year I'll go back, and then the ability to do some other stuff and resell the ticket really.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity that's hard to pass up.
It is. It is, and it's a lot of work to get there, and it's very expensive when you do. And so if you've experienced about every high and low you could possibly experience there, let them other people enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. My list, I went second, I think, well, regardless. Ryan was also in here. He had some good picks, but my list, number one was the 2018 Big 12 championship game against Texas.
That was great. I love that game.
Mm-hmm. Kyler throwing
Chris, was that you that I think I sat with you?
No, I didn't sit with you. I was sitting with somebody else, and then we left a little
but
early.
we saw each other at that game, I think.
Yeah.
I think Chris had to leave
Were you
early.
sitting with me, Ben?
We did have to leave early.
Yeah, Chris didn't get to see the end of that game.
Oh my gosh!
I watched the one-handed catch on my phone as I drove away.
It was an all-timer. Well, like we talked about it on when we did it. It's like kind of like Alabama this year, where Texas beat us in a classic, but like usually OU Texas, you win the game and you get bragging rights for the year, and we just snatched them right back. And it was like, nope, like no one talks about that other game.
Well, and it was so painful for them because both teams were on the precipice of the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the main thing that we talked about, that Brecklin Hager dude was going to cut his hair once Texas won a Big 12 championship game. And he never did.
Still growing to this day.
Great stuff.
Number two for me was my first OU Texas with my wife, 2021, where the Caleb Williams came in and we rushed the field after the win, and I was a big fan of the events that day. Obviously, what happened the rest of that year, we don't have to talk about with Lincoln leaving, etc., but that game specifically.
Mike, how did you rush the field? Because it was a COVID year or something? Or?
No, like it was the first year back, and I just remember they were horrible. They didn't have enough staffing because it took us forever to get into the game. Xavier Worthy took a screen pass first play, 75 yards, and half the stadium wasn't even in there yet because they had I think they said like it was less than 2/3 of the typical staffing for the ticket scanners. So everyone's like, we just hear the guns and everyone cheering, and I was like, we didn't have the ball first, so that can't be good. But then after the game, I mean, like we just went. Everyone, it's one of those things. It's like you never want to lead it because you never know if people are going to follow. But it was just like everyone in front of us is just empty. And I looked at Bailey. I was like, we're going. I never know. We might never get to do this again. And so
I don't think it's ever been done.
I think it's the only time.
I've never seen that there.
It was electric. My third pick, kind of similar to you. I brought props last time. 2015 OU Baylor. Baker Mayfield got to be on the front page of the Tulsa World with Baker Mayfield giving everybody high fives in the berm when Baylor was still super good. And then my fourth pick, I had some electric options. And for some reason in the moment, Matt, 2017, there were some great games. Don't you agree?
Yes.
This was the Rose Bowl year. I didn't say the Rose Bowl. I picked the 2017 OU TCU game. Do you remember anything about that game?
No, that wasn't that year.
That was also brought up when Ryan said the same thing. That was 2015, and it would have been a better pick than this one. 2017 OU TCU was the week after we beat OSU in Stillwater. Like, the 110 points were scored.
Yeah.
Baker basically won. The birth of Hollywood Brown, where Gus Johnson's like, who is this kid?
Yeah. Hollywood. Yeah.
We come back. TCU's ranked 6th in the country, and Rodney Anderson scored 4 touchdowns in the first half, and we just But the rewatchability of the game probably shouldn't have been in the top 4. Rodney Anderson's performance probably deserved to be in the top 4, but there are other games, specifically maybe even the 2017 OU OSU game, because I was at that game.
Yeah.
But I went back that night and rewatched that game, and I was like, why did I pick this game? They're so good.
That was not going to be on my list of games. I couldn't even remember the game. I thought it was the Stephen Parker.
Well, that one would have been a better option. Like the OSU game would have been a better option. I even said it on the pod that Chris took 2025 Alabama. I almost would take 2025 LSU because when Satania catches the pass, that was one of the loudest I've ever heard that stadium.
That was a cheers of relief.
Yeah, it's just
it was louder than 2017 OU TCU.
We've got to be better on offense. Oh my gosh. Please.
Okay. Before we go,
I have one more game that I think we should. You mentioned rushing the field. I cannot believe we got out of the last podcast we did without the Alabama rushing the field game.
2024.
Yeah, that seems like a big miss.
That is a big
Because that's
miss.
a great game.
I just we were up in the upper deck, and it was me, Dad, Mom, and Jack. And like Matt, you mentioned it, the Derek Strait interception for a touchdown, and like Bowen gets the interception to start the second half, and then Kip Lewis gets the pick six. And I specifically remember, like, I almost started crying when Kip Lewis scored, and Mom looked at me and said, "You got to get it together." And I was like, and I was a little intoxicated, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, that's when you knew it was going to happen. And well, we've been fortunate to see so many good things. We've also suffered some unbelievably bad losses over the time too. So.
If you had to pick one game as your like worst game you've attended,
okay. Well, I didn't go to the 2017 Rose Bowl, but I think you guys were all there. Were you
I didn't go.
Chris?
Dad and I were.
That has to be the worst loss you've ever seen. If it's not, you're crazy. For me, it was a game that I was at was the 2004 Sugar Bowl versus LSU.
We should have won.
We were the best. I mean, it was a great game. They were really good. Nick Saban was their head coach, and they were great on defense. And I don't know what Jason White was doing, but he threw a pass to, is it Marcus Spears, the guy on ESPN? He runs it in for a touchdown. Stuff like that. And we had the ball in the fourth quarter. We're driving down. We got a really good. We're running the ball and moving it for the first time. And we get inside the 20. We throw 4 straight passes and they're incomplete and we lose. But that to me was the loudest crowd I've ever heard in my life inside the Superdome against LSU. It was because it was such an exciting game and we just couldn't get over the hump. To me, that was a very disappointing loss, right up there with Florida and Southern Cal, Orange
Well,
Bowls.
we didn't lose the game to Southern Cal. It was vacated.
That's been vacated, yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't count.
Cheaters.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
No, I don't think we can hear you. But
he's been awful quiet recently. Now we
Yeah.
know why.
Yeah.
I will say my least favorite game I've ever watched was, do you remember? I can't remember. I think it was 2014, my sophomore year, us versus Baylor.
Yes!
When they just kept throwing 10-yard passes, and we
all knew it was
we
coming.
They ran the same play for like the whole game, and that year too, who was our quarterback? Trevor Knight. Trevor Knight just threw an interception in our end zone.
It was against Kansas State. It was right in front of the student section.
That was
we were
such
at the
a
1
terrible
yard line,
year.
and he basically threw it to their defensive back, and he took one step, and they scored a touchdown.
He
should have won the Heisman.
That Baylor game, I bet you I could count on one hand how many times I've booed vociferously in that stadium. And that Baylor game, we were on defense. We were 10 yards back on everything, and they just stood around, looked, and went, bing, bing.
Yeah, I know.
It was miserable. So
Anyway, the worst part was how did we not fire our defensive coordinator after
it? Took a lot longer because we fired her next year.
The next year after the Texas game.
No, it was 4 years later.
That was the first year Venables wasn't there, right?
His last year was 2012, I think. Mm-hmm. So it was 2 years. But that happened in 2014, and we didn't fire Mike until after the OU Texas game, 2018.
Lincoln Riley fired him. That's right.
Yeah. Bob never fired his brother. Which I get it. But
I wonder, it's so interesting. He was such a good defensive coach.
Until he wasn't.
And then he wasn't. I don't understand.
I don't think he knew how to adjust to like the new generation of players.
Yeah. And of course the rules changed about, certain things and maybe we just didn't, targeting, the inventor of the horse collar tackle himself, Roy Williams. I mean, that rule is because of him. It was in the NFL. He broke somebody's ankle.
Yeah. Because
when he was with the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe Terrell Owens.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and that's where that rule came from.
Wow.
He's a trailblazer.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, he was running parking for the University of Oklahoma.
That's right.
Not doing a good job of it.
Yeah, but
Dad, are you still MIA? It was great having Bill on the podcast. Now we can really get into it. Matt, I don't know. We'll try to have you on when Larry comes on. But is there any, last thing before we get out of here? Is there any particular thing that you're most excited about, or even worried about, knowing you, going into this OU football season?
I tell you what, I am super excited about our defense and the potential there with a great defensive line, great linebacker core, experienced secondary. I'm not much worried about that. I think they're going to keep us in a lot of games. But the thing that is most heartwarming is it Jason Witten?
Yep.
New tight end
And
coach.
the tight end room is it's going to change us. We're going to be able to run the ball and we're going to be able to throw to tight ends, and I think that's going to make Mateer look incredible. And I think the protection will be better because Jared Kanek he's a great guy and he was a great athlete, but he wasn't built for a tight end.
No.
He got smoked so many times in pass protection. So put all that together, I think we will be better than last year. The question is, how are we going to do in some one-score games? Because we're going to be in a lot of them.
So Matt, you have us going 7-5.
No. I think 10-2.
10-2, and we
I would
lose
take 10-2 in a heartbeat.
Texas and Georgia.
I think, yeah, either that or Michigan and Georgia.
I think you
It
just
could
have
be
to go
9-3.
3-2. You just have to go 3-2 out of Texas, preferably 4-1.
Preferably
Anything
5
better
and
than
0.
that, obviously, is insane. But
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to score touchdowns against the Longhorns again.
you don't even have to add an S to
just
it.
one
Just
time.
a touchdown.
One time.
Yeah, it's been 2 years, right? 2 years in a row
Yeah.
we haven't scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Not
they're
since
gonna
Well,
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
note, we're going to get out.
So, I mean,
No.
running the ball is paramount, right? Don't you think?
Yep, that has to be the thing that changes, and I think we're set up to be very successful. Michael Fasusi is going to be dominant this year, and so I
And
mean,
having-
even Jason Witten was talking about him.
Yeah. And having those big tight ends you talked about, I think that's going to really elevate the run game more than, all that.
Well, because they're a
offensive line
threat to
together.
catch the ball just beyond the line of scrimmage. They're a part of the game, so all of a sudden you can't do the same with your linebackers and defensive ends. They're going to have to be in coverage sometimes on those
Right.
tight ends.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
but,
Today was the first
who's our-
day.
Who's the starting running back?
It'll
think
be
we'll-
Lloyd Avant right now.
Who?
The transfer from Colorado State. If you listen to Dalen McCullough, he said right now Lloyd Avant would take the first snap if we had a game tomorrow.
Wow.
Why do they hate on Xavier, man? What is the
Apparently he
deal?
I
was
don't
hurt
think
in the
they-
spring.
They didn't play in the spring. Him or
Sorry.
Tory Blaylock.
Yeah, those two guys, I think, will get the bulk of the carries, don't you?
I want
think-
Little thunder and lightning kind
my
of thing.
best
some
case
raw.
scenario. Jonathan Hatton, the stud freshman, he's a top 100 recruit, just comes in and takes the job, and he's our running back for 3 years.
I don't know about that.
Wait a minute. Didn't they have that court ruling where you can have an extra year?
5-5. Every
Yep.
every player gets
So-
5 years.
What about the guy that just left that was from California, from Berkeley? What was his
Oh,
name? What's his name? The running back?
Jaden Ott.
Say it.
I don't
Yes.
want
Could he
Jaden
come
Ott
back
back.
for one more?
My gosh.
You need to ask Eddie Rodosevich if he can pull that off for us.
That's a
I
good.
think he
Does he-
might rip my hair out.
Did he transfer somewhere, or did he? Was was he a
He's
senior?
in Chiefs minicamp. He's signed to the Chiefs.
He could come back for that 5th year.
Yeah.
He could. Him and the big guy in the middle.
Dominic
Dominic
Williams
is
is,
who
the one
I
that
want
people
to come
are kinda
back.
like,
Do you think we'll do that? I mean,
No.
has it already happened? Are other people doing it?
no, the guy has to want to come back, and then also, it's like that's you got to pay him NIL to get him to come back. And what's your NIL budget look like? And to me, I'm like, you make one phone call and you say I need $500,000, and we have another defensive tackle because that's.
But
one
they
of the-
have to go. Do they have to go back to their school, or can they transfer in?
They only can go back to their school. It doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no new window of transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Bill?
Uh-huh.
Smart.
He's been
That's really
sitting there for
good.
the last 10 minutes.
Time for the sign language portion of ball talk.
That's right. Mother, father.
Please
I love you.
Matt. Do any of these
JK.
pictures of John Mateer shirtless?
Oh.
Does that
Get you
get
going.
Does that get your goose? Are you going?
Let me tell you something. Are those AI or are those real?
I have no reason to believe that it's
You talking about the ones where he's got his shirt off?
Yes.
freaking jacked.
He is jacked. I mean, that listen, and did I also see in the Manning camp where he has sort of changed his throwing motion a little bit?
He's
He
more over
worked
the
with a
top.
biomechanic engineer someone this summer to try to fix his throwing motion.
He looks like you tell your AI to draw the most least body fat, muscular, 6'2" looking guy, and he is tight. If he can, I'm excited. I'm glad he's our quarterback, and I think this is going to be his great year.
You know, I tried to have AI draw me like that. I showed him a picture of
Yeah.
my face, and it said, "It's too sexy. We can't do that."
Well,
What do you think
so-
about that, Bill?
Too sexy. He's speechless. It's so sexy. One little interesting tidbit, speaking of John Mateer, before we get out of here. If you had to looking back at prior quarterbacks, who do you think is bigger, John Mateer or Jalen Hurts, in terms of or just weight? Who do you think weighed more?
I would say Jalen Hurts.
You're setting me up. Jalen Hurts' lower body was...
John Mateer weighs 6 pounds more than Jalen Hurts did at OU.
Wow.
I
don't want him to run that much.
I doubt it. Hurts weighed 218. Mateer, the updated roster, he was 224.
Wow. I'll tell
He-
you what. How much more weight is that than last year?
I'd have to go back and
You
look.
think he's put on- I bet he's put on 10
it's between
pounds.
6 to 10 pounds.
I bet he's taking a piss test every week. I bet they're just testing him out the wazoo for all those steroids.
Maybe. We'll never know until he potentially fails.
Another reason to be high
Oh
on
my
Mateer
gosh.
is that he watched film this summer with Sam Bradford. And so Sam Bradford is there in his mind trying to get him to see the field better. So I think
Well, that guy could see the field, but Sam Bradford had about 10 minutes with each snap to see the field
sure.
because he had people
Mateer
like
might as well
Lane
this year
Johnson.
too.
Trent Williams. Was it Trent Williams on that team? Or was he
And
earlier
Lane
than
Johnson,
that?
I think.
Lane was after. He had
he
Duke
was.
Robinson, Phil Lodeholt, John Cooper.
Phil Loholt. Yeah. He's a monster.
Yeah, I mean, Trent was on that team because Trent came back, and he was between him, Gresham, and Bradford. Trent was and McCoy. McCoy and Trent played the whole year.
Yeah, because that's the year we had 3 of the top 4 players drafted.
And 4 of the top, I think 22, because Gresham also was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So let's go back to those days. I miss those days.
DeMarco was there. We were the one.
You know what? One of the things you guys need to talk about at some point, I was just thinking about, is does the SEC need to get rid of the conference championship game? It's a total waste. It means nothing to the playoffs. I mean, I don't know why they play conference championship games anymore. Just use a formula to determine it and move on.
Right.
I don't disagree with that, but it's like Chris and I were talking about it too. It's like if you start penalizing teams for this kind of stuff, like we won't have an opportunity to go to Michigan this year or wherever. Like they'll cancel all those games.
Yeah.
But they didn't really I don't think they necessarily penalized Bama last year for losing. They put them in with 3 losses.
Is that right?
They lost to Florida State week 1, us, and then Georgia in the SEC championship game. And
They didn't count that against them. Yeah. And then they came and beat us.
Yeah. Which if they didn't get in, it was going to be Notre Dame.
Which would have been awesome.
I was
That would
kind
have
of
been just as fun.
I was hoping for Notre Dame.
Talk about a cakewalk schedule. Those guys are going to be undefeated for sure.
Yeah. No, they're going to make sure of it now too after being left out last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty much football time in Oklahoma. Fall practice started today. Media day was yesterday. Nothing crazy. Basically, for the next month, people just pray that you don't get any relevant news.
Yeah.
And by that,
Yeah.
I mean an injury report.
Right.
That's kind of I'm kind of already done talking about it. I just want to see some play on the field already. But no news is going to be good news for about a month.
You know, how hard must it be to be a coach and have to make those decisions? I want full live practices so people can, be ready for games because we practice like we play. But then you don't ever want to have your stars in the practice. So
That's one thing I think Brent's done a much better job at balancing. Because I think specifically 2 years ago when our entire wide receiver core was hurt, I just think he's pushing it.
whatever. I don't believe that.
Well, I did, before I got on here, I saw a tweet. Several former OU players have transferred to Kentucky to play for Will Stein, which great offensive mind. I don't blame him. Javante Barnes and Nick Anderson, to be exact. Both of them are unavailable currently at the start of fall camp. So,
Where was Nick Anderson last year?
LSU.
LSU.
LSU,
Sharp.
man.
Did Bauer Sharp get drafted?
I don't know.
I think
Come
he
on,
did.
Chris.
I think he did.
Too. I legitimately think he did too, Matt. I think he got Jaron
for
Canick got
all-
drafted.
There's 6 rounds or something.
Is he in fall camp
Canick's with
Yeah.
the Titans.
as a tight end?
Yeah.
Bauer
Whatever
Sharp was
position they
drafted
wanna
by
make
the
up for
Tampa
him.
Bay Buccaneers as the 185th pick.
Giving Baker another tight end, I see.
I tell you what, I could sit and visit with you guys all night.
Especially when you
This
start
is
talking
fun.
about this. There's about 15 different
Yeah.
topics that, right, Dad?
Yes, whatever. Bill has been so insightful for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Some real smart talking there, Dad. Really appreciate your input. Would love to have you back on. As an example, this is how marriage works. You just have to shut your mouth sometimes and let others talk.
That's right. Be a good listener.
Yes. You have 2 ears and
Yeah.
1 mouth for a reason. That's the
All right, let's do a shirt check.
shirt check.
I have
Matt
on
wants to
my-
show off his shirt.
He's got a
My
great
Steve Owens
jersey.
Yeah, a vintage Steve Owens jersey.
I have my
Chris's
Ennio
Ennio.
basketball jersey
Yeah.
on, or shirt on.
What is Bill doing?
Dad's
No, Bill,
twerking.
don't do
Bill
that.
is
No,
flashing the
no.
camera. He's mooning the
Just-
camera.
Yeah, what? We still get politicals were okay. I was red. I wasn't sure what it was.
Getting her drumming for.
All right. Is
Ben
this
has
politics
a-
on Ball Talk?
We listen. Here's the deal with Ball Talk. If you pay us, I'll say whatever you want.
There you go.
Not anything.
Not anything, but most things.
A lot
Most
of things.
My shirt's not that crazy. It's an Austin, Texas shirt from the Dell Match Play, but I do have my 2026 OU Baseball National Championship.
It's a pretty sweet hat.
And Bill, you can't respond to this, but I did order for you and me a special OU whiskey decanter that has 2026 baseball national champions. You already have it, Ben?
No, I actually was going to say I ordered this. We will have a new flag at the tailgate this year.
Wow. Shout out the boys.
Yeah. And I know that we're going to have trouble in the first game tailgate, the Friday night. All of us are going to be out of town. A lot of us at different weddings.
Chris
are you
O's
gonna
leading
be
the
in town?
charge.
It's going to be me. I think me and PK
All
are
right.
doing it.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
We got to
Just
keep
got to make
that
sure
spot,
one of them
so.
has a truck.
Ooh.
I bet Brian will help you out with that.
Is he not going either?
He'll be
That's Maryland.
in Maryland.
Okay. Maybe I'll borrow my dad's truck.
Oh
Just
yeah.
buy
Well,
one.
I hate to tell you, but he's going to take it in for some transmission work. He just came over and borrowed my 25-year-old truck. So
Oh, dang. All right. Well, I'll have to find somebody. Maybe Brandon can move it.
Well, all that to say,
Yeah.
listeners, appreciate you for listening. Matt, Dad, thanks for coming on.
suffering.
If you listen to this podcast, come by the Osborne tailgate. The only
I-
rule is you have to try to tackle Chris.
No,
Get in.
and Osborne. So we did sign you two up for being candidates for that if they want to tackle you two. So be aware of
Oh.
that. You
They
can
didn't know about
defer.
this.
You can defer a champion and have Ben or I do it, or Jack, or Elliot, if you really want them to go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great idea. It just gets better by the minute.
Yes, this is
Appreciate everybody for listening. Appreciate Matt. Dad, any last words before we head out? All right. Well, appreciate Matt and Dad for coming on. Appreciate Chris as always, and we'll talk to you again next week. See you.
bye.
All night long, party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long.